Pats Nation, the closer we get to the season, the clearer one thing is becoming in New England. Mike Vrabel is starting to show us who really fits into the plans for this team. And what makes it interesting is that some of those answers are going in the exact opposite direction of what a lot of people expected just a few weeks ago. Because there's one player on offense who has been showing up more and more as a potential trade candidate. But when I saw what Vrabel said about him and put that together with what Drake May has been showing in training camp, the first thing that crossed my mind was this. Are the Patriots really going to move on from a guy who's starting to prove right now that he can help this offense? I'm talking about Demario Douglas. With the preseason getting closer, the trade rumors naturally started heating up, and Douglas found himself in that conversation alongside a few other names on the roster. And you can understand why. He's heading into the final year of his rookie deal. And even though he's already shown he can produce, he's never quite established himself as a consistent piece of this offense. The problem is, what we're seeing right now is starting to tell a different story. Douglas has been turning heads in training camp. His connection with Drake May is showing up again, and maybe more importantly, Vrabel went out of his way to highlight something that seems to carry a lot of weight in this new Patriots culture. He talked about how Douglas was always ready last season, whether he was getting 12 snaps or 30. He pointed to the plays Pop was able to make even with limited opportunities, praised his attitude, and made it clear how much Douglas cares about the team. And that brings up an important question. If Vrabel really sees Douglas that way, why trade him now when he's showing that he fits what this coaching staff is trying to build? Because this isn't just about talent. Douglas has already shown that he can make things happen when the ball gets in his hands. That game against the Saints last season was probably the best example. The question was never simply whether he could produce. The question was how to consistently get him involved in the offense. And now there's another factor in the equation. Drake May. May has also been talking up the connection between the two of them. And if one of the priorities this season is surrounding your franchise quarterback with reliable weapons, it becomes a lot harder to look at Douglas as nothing more than an asset you can flip for a draft pick. But there's another piece of this that changes the conversation. While Vrabel seems to be making it pretty clear what kind of traits can keep a player in New England, the Patriots just made a couple of moves on the other side of the offense that show exactly how this competition is going to work. Just look at what happened in the backfield. On the eve of their first preseason game, the Patriots went out and added two veteran running backs, Hassan Haskins and JaMycal Hasty. At the same time, Miles Montgomery was waived with an injury designation. If he clears waivers, the expectation is that he'll return to New England on injured reserve. On the surface, you could look at this as nothing more than some roster shuffling before the preseason. But when you look at the players they brought in, there's something more interesting going on here. Haskins isn't some random name from Mike Vrabel. He was a fourth-round pick by the Titans in 2022 and played for Vrabel in Tennessee. He's a running back who can contribute as a runner, catch the football, help in pass protection, and play special teams. In other words, he comes in already knowing exactly what kind of player Vrabel values. And Hasty follows a similar pattern. He already knows New England. He's been in this building before. And he was also part training camp last year under Vrabel. Now he's back right when the competition is starting to get serious. When I put those two moves together, that's when it really started to make sense. Vrabel seems to be creating less room for unknowns and more room for players he knows he can trust. That doesn't mean Haskins or Hasty are automatically making the 53-man roster. Far from it. Ramondre Stevenson and Travion Henderson are way out in front in this backfield, while Terrell Jennings has been building a real advantage in the battle for that third spot. So Haskins and Hasty are here to compete. And that might be the most important word in this entire conversation. Compete. On the other side of that decision is Miles Montgomery. New England made a pretty significant investment in the undrafted rookie, giving him guarantees that were unusual for a player who wasn't even selected in the draft. But that didn't guarantee him a spot. Montgomery didn't get many opportunities in camp, slipped down the backfield depth chart, and now the injury has basically wiped out any realistic chance of him contributing this season. Obviously, his situation is completely different from Douglas, but there's a similar principle behind both of them. What you did before matters less than what you're showing right now. And I like that mentality for this Patriots team. Because if New England really wants to get back into the fight at the top of the AFC, this roster can't be built on interesting names and potential alone. Vrabel has to figure out who can actually help Drake May and this team when the games start counting for real. And that's exactly why the Douglas situation has become so interesting. While some players are watching the competition get tighter around them, Pop seems to be doing the opposite. He's making the Patriots' decision harder and harder. And this is where I think New England has to be careful not to overthink something that finally seems to be working. For a long time, the conversation around this team was about finding more weapons for Drake May, give the young quarterback different options, build a deeper offense, and figure out which players can actually grow alongside him. So if Douglas is doing exactly that right now, I wouldn't be in any rush to move him. Of course, there's a business side to this. He's entering the final year of his rookie contract, and if another team comes calling with a legitimately strong offer, Elliott Wolf at least has to listen. That's part of the job. But trading a player just because there's a market for him is a completely different conversation. When you look at training camp, Douglas has been putting himself right there among the receivers who keep making plays. He was one of the biggest standouts in the recent scrimmage, once again showing that ability to create separation and turn his opportunities into big plays. And maybe that's exactly what Vrabel wants to find out before making any final decisions on this roster. Who steps up when the competition gets tougher? In the backfield, Terrell Jennings seems to understand that perfectly. He came back and quickly gained ground in the battle for the third spot, even getting work with the first kickoff unit. Now Haskins and Hasty are here to turn up the heat even more. And in the receiver room, Douglas is doing the same thing. The difference with Pop is that what he's doing could directly benefit Drake May. So if I had to choose between turning Douglas into a draft pick that might help New England somewhere down the road, or keeping a weapon who's producing right now and building chemistry with your quarterback, it would take a pretty strong offer for me to choose that first option. Because the Patriots aren't at a point anymore where they can only think about what this roster might look like 2 or 3 years from now. This team needs to keep moving forward right now. And maybe that's the real message behind everything we're seeing. Vrabel is creating competition, bringing in players he knows, and turning up the pressure for those final roster spots. Haskins is here. Hasty is back. Montgomery lost ground because of the injury. Jennings is trying to lock down his role. And Douglas, who could have entered this preseason as one of the most talked about names on the trade market, is doing everything he can to completely flip that conversation. From what could the Patriots get for him, to why should the Patriots give him up? And to me, that second question is a whole lot more interesting. Now I want to hear from you, Pats Nation. If a good offer comes in for DeMario Douglas, are you making the trade? Or are you keeping Pop as one of Drake May's weapons this season? Drop your take in the comments, because I want to see where Pats Nation stands on this one. And if you want to stay on top of every decision that could change the direction of this team, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications, because this roster battle is only getting started. I'll see you in the next one. Go Pats!